my name is Emma.
And I'm Adilla.
Today we are going to talk about sex-linked traits. They are genetic characteristics determined by genes located on sex chromosomes.
Since only men inherit Y chromosomes, they are the only ones to inherit Y-linked traits. However, both men and women can get the X-linked ones, since both inherit X chromosomes.
Genes are segments of DNA found on chromosomes that carry information for protein production and that are responsible for the inheritance of specific traits. Genes exist in alternative forms called alleles. One allele for a trait is inherited from each parent.
Like traits originating from genes on autosomes, which are non-sex chromosomes, sex-linked traits are passed from parents to offspring through sexual reproduction. And for your reference, the image above shows the inheritance pattern of Y and X chromosomes from parents to offspring. Okay, now Emma is going to draw Punnett squares for X-linked recessive alleles for a disorder. Now in this case, if the woman or the mother is a carrier of an X-linked recessive allele for a disorder, and her mate does not have it, their boys will have a 50% chance of inheriting the disorder. However, none of the girls will have it, but half of them are likely to be carriers. Alright, and now Emma's going to draw a Punnett square for if the father has the X-linked recessive disorder. Now in this case, on the Punnett square that she's drawing, on the left-hand side, the bottom left-hand side, the X with the small a denotes the father with the X-linked recessive disorder. Now, if the father has the X-linked recessive disorder and his mate does not carry the allele for it, all of their girls will be carriers. However, none of their boys will inherit the harmful allele because all sons inherit their X chromosomes from their mother only. Therefore, only girls receive the X chromosomes from their fathers.
And now we are going to introduce some examples of sex-linked traits. Hemophilia is an X-linked trait caused by a gene mutation.
This is a disease in which blood cannot clot properly, which results in prolonged bleeding.
One example in history is Queen Victoria. She passed the harmful allele for this X-linked trait onto one of her 4 sons and at least 2 of her 5 daughters. Her son Leopold had the disease and died at age 30, while her daughters were only carriers. As a result of marrying into other European royal families, her daughters spread hemophilia to Russia, Germany, and Spain.
Another example of an X-linked trait is male pattern baldness. Baldness is a recessive trait that many women carry. The androgen receptor genes are located on the X chromosome, and researchers have found that men with the androgen receptor gene are much more likely to be bald.
Besides these X-linked traits, there are very few Y-linked traits. It is important to note that the Y chromosome carries very few genes. This means that there aren't many disorders. However, one example is excessively hairy ears, which is also known as hypertrichosis of the pinna.
Okay, and now Emma's going to draw a Punnett square for alleles and blood types. Multiple alleles. When there are 3 or more alleles for a particular gene, this does not mean that a person inherits all 3 traits. An example of this is the ABO blood type gene, which has 3 alleles rather than 2. One person only has 2 sets of chromosomes, so one person can only have 2 of these alleles at once. Because there are 3 possible alleles, there are 6 possible genotypes, compared to the 3 outcomes possible with 2 alleles. These 3 alleles are codes for carbohydrate A, IA, and I8 codes for carbohydrate B, and I codes for the lack of any carbohydrate.
The ones circled in brown are blood type A. The ones circled in green are blood type AB. The ones circled in blue are blood type B. one circled in black is blood type O.
Okay, in regards to this Punnett square, brown indicates blood type A, green indicates blood type AB, blue indicates blood type B, and black indicates blood type O. And so in this case, in this Punnett square, we have 1 O, 3 Bs, 2 ABs, and 3 As.
Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Lucy.
We are going to be talking to you about codominance. Now, in order to understand this, we need to know what a trait is and how this differs from standard genetic inheritance.
A trait is a quantifiable measure of one's characteristics, and standard genetic inheritance is the inheritance of two separate alleles, with one being dominant over the other.
The reason this is important is that codominance is the equal expression of traits in a phenotype. Neither trait A or trait B are dominant or recessive, and therefore equally produce around 50% of the total protein.
This protein then equally shows through in the resulting specimen, giving skin type, eye color, etc.
Just continue.
Okay. Here we see this equal expression. Both blood type A is codominant with blood type B, but neither are codominant with O. Therefore, the child of a man with blood type AO and woman BO could possibly have A, B, AB, and O. Here we see that AB is the codominant blood type because both A and B are being represented. The person with blood type A also has a trait for O, but A is dominant over O, and therefore A is the only trait being expressed. Here we see a red flower, and here we see a white flower. This is an example of codominance. Both the red and the white flower had one of the flowers pollinated the other, and neither the red was dominant over the white. Therefore, we see both in sort of splotchy pattern on this new flower.
Now we are going to talk about incomplete dominance. Like codominance, this occurs when one allele for a specific trait is not completely dominant over the other allele.
However, incomplete dominance is a form of inheritance in which the heterozygous alleles are both expressed, resulting in a combined phenotype. When incomplete dominance occurs, we get a third allele that is a combination of both the dominant and recessive phenotypes.
For example, during cross-pollination between a red flower, shown here, and a white flower, shown here, the resulting flower would be pink, the mixture of red and white. The reason for this is that even though the red color is dominant and the white color is recessive, only enough pigment has been produced in the genotype to result in a pink color.
This differs from codominance because in this situation, instead of being a combination of colors, the new flower would have an equal number of red and white spots.
Whereas in codominance, both alleles are equally expressed, incomplete dominance occurs when two heterozygous alleles combine to form a mixed phenotype.
Yeah. Here we have a Punnett square. The R representing an allele from a red flower and the W representing an allele from a white flower. As you can see, the two parents were one had RR, the other had WW, meaning that one was red, one was white. In codominance, what would happen is that the R and the W would both form, and neither would be dominant over the other. Therefore, you would have both being shown through in sort of splotchy pattern we saw with the earlier flower. This is opposed to incomplete dominance. Both can be represented by the same Punnett square because it is just based on how it appears. But in incomplete dominance, the R and the W would mix, and it would form a pinkish sort of color.